So welcome back, guys. There's just two folders that we will be working on. So the second to the last will be the controllers and the last will be the routes. So let's continue. We'll be in our controllers now. So let me copy the folder. This will be the project that I will be pushing in my repo. So there's a readme file in every folder, so just read it. What's the purpose of this folder? So let me copy this. So the controller will be the one getting the data from our express callback and passing it to our use cases to be processed, going to our data to be inserted in our database. So these the controllers is already it's like a template, so you don't have to touch anything here. Just a template for each. So during insert, use this file, code, then select this code, update this code, and delete. So what you will be changing here is just this part here. The parameter will be the use case. So example, when inserting employee, so this will be the use case for our inserting the add employee. So call the add employee here. So my naming convention here is that whatever the name of the use case, just reverse it. Oh, just wait, I'm low, but so I'm back, guys. So whatever the name of the use case, just reverse it. So add employees, then employees add. So you can have your own naming convention here. So we will make a variable with the parameter of our use case that will return an async function with the HTTP request. This variable here. So in the what will we passing to our use cases are these, the info that came from the client. So this variable here holds the data that is submitted by the client. So example, form data or the postman, like that. So we will pass it to our use cases. So the info and the source will be stored in this variable here. You can access it here. Just wait because somebody arrived. So let's continue. My father just arrived, so I opened the gate. So when you are done with your controller and passing the use case, then let's export it in our app file. So in the above part, if we will just call our use cases, so use case employees, then the app here, then call our files, which is here, the insert, update, and the CRUD part, and then store it in this variable, what you name your variable here. Then just add s is my lazy naming convention. Add s, then the parameter, which will be our use case, pass it here. It's just the same here in this part. then freeze this variable here, then export this. We will be using this in our routes. So in our routes folder here, this will be the routes that the endpoint that we will be calling our API. So I will just copy in the project. So the concept of the clean architecture. So the packages must be in the different file, then just call it in the main file. So like our express, then just pass it. We will be using the router for our routes, so just pass it to this file. So the parameter of this variable will be the router, the express callback, and the validate of the middleware folder I didn't copy. So let's get back here. So for our middleware is just basic auth. It will just return the status of 403 forbidden if there is no authentication. So the credentials will be CRUD and QWERTY. So we will see it in Postman later. So we will bring our controllers here, which is from this folder. Then in this route variable, function, route function, this is an arrow function. It's an arrow function. So inside the function, we will declare our route. So for our get route, this is for the select all / then we will pass an ID for our select one. So this ID will be this ID if it is supplied. So select one, if not, select all. So in our post, just / employee, then if in the patch and delete, we will be passing also an ID. So the ID here in the controller, in the select part, is this one in the params.id. So if you name your variable here, let's say code /code, so you must change it here /code, like that. So I name mine ID, so just ID here. Then store it in the property ID. Same with the insert, with the delete and update. So if there are data that you are looking for, just console log the HTTP request, so you can map your data there. So let's go back in our routes. So we'll be making a patch request for our update and delete request for our delete. Then this function will return the router, our routes, and will be stored in this variable, then export, freeze, then export. So let's go back in our main file, the one that we commented here. Let's uncomment it now. Then let's try to run. If there are no error, I hope there are no errors. Oops, there's an error. Employees DB is not defined. So let's check. Data access employees. Employees DB is not defined. This is not defined. Oh, there's a typo here. So change that. Just copy here. So there's no more an error. So let's try to postman it. Make a request. So in our main file, the routes will will be accessing our routes to this slash API slash employees. In our postman, let's edit our variable slash API. Then just leave it at as it is. So slash API slash employees. So let's save our request and save it in the collection. So it returned forbidden because we didn't pass our authentication. So basic auth and road QWERTY. So currently we don't have any data. So let's check in our database. There's no data. Let's try to insert. So the insert is we will just be post request in our routes. It is post request routes here, post request. So let's forbidden because no authentication. You can, when in production, you can try any authentication. What I am using in the production is the JWT. So can use that. If anyone wants to know what is JWT, just comment in the comment section below. So let's insert an employee. So we didn't put any first name, which is this error is from our entities here. So let's put a first name. So no last name, so let's put last name too. There's no age. So I'm 25 yet. Forgot my age, so let's just put 25 years old. Insert. Error inserting. Please try again. So let's check what's the error. Insert. So you can console log this if you want to debug your code. So let's insert again. Undefined. What's the error? So let's console log data first. So this is the encrypted first name and encrypted last name. So the error it says is create of undefined in our data access. So the function is insert new employee. Employee, but our model is employees, I guess. Oh yeah, so that's why there's an error. So let's just replace it. Employee. So let's try again. So employee has win, so it is successful. So let's check in the database. There it is. So let's try to select. Let's try to post with the same name if it will catch our checking there. So employee already exists. Please check. So our checking in this part, it is correct. It's working. So if you want to know, just console log this check. Let's try to console log it. So this returns, so row count equals 1, meaning it is existing. So this is the if statement, so it's working. So let's try to insert and let's try to get first. So this is the select. So let's try to insert. So Arnold, I don't know who is Arnold. Arnold Walter. So the data type here is integer. So let's try this. 40 years old. Employee added. So let's check in the database. So here's Arnold encrypted data. So it is already existing if we will insert it again. So when we select it, so there must be 2. So if we supply an ID here, /ID in our routes here, so it must be select 1 only. So just 1, then 2. If the ID is not existing, it will return the empty array like that. So select all. So the question is why it is not encrypted here, because in our use case we have the decrypt function here. So if there is first name, it will decrypt it. So that's why it is, you can read it here. So in our update, let's try to update patch request. The route is nowhere to be found because we didn't pass an ID. Forbidden, no auth. Please enter first name. This one is for during the update entity. So this one. So let's try to add an existing employee. I update. So currently employee 2 is Arnold. Then let's update with the same name with this user, my name. So employee already exists because it is already existing. So let's update Arnold's data. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Don't know the spelling of the Terminator actor. So delete. So it's successful. So let's try to get select here. So the Sequelize will automatically update this updated at during update. So let's try to delete Arnold. Please wait. So let's continue. So let's save our request. So if there's no ID passed, it will just say route is nowhere to be found because our route is it requires an ID. So in our main file, this return this block of code. So let's delete Arnold. No authentication, I forgot. I'm just using basic auth, so you can use any authentication you would like. So let's delete. Employee deleted successfully. So let's try to get our node. Select all. This is select all. So no more. Let's try to delete again. Employee was not deleted, so it is not existing. Like that. You can try to catch it. Can have a select query to check if this ID is existing. So you will have a different return. So that's all for the clean architecture. Just keep in mind the first, just in the description, check the discussion by the different developer. I will put the link in the description below. Then keep in mind what every part in the circle means. So that's all, guys. I hope you learned something new today. If you have any request in NodeJS project, so make sure to comment it down below. So thank you, guys.